Thursday, May 19th, a wife for Abraham. Read Genesis 24, 67 to 25, 8. What is the meaning of these final events in the life of Abraham? After Sarah died, Abraham married again. Like Isaac, he is comforted after the death of Sarah, Genesis 24:67. The memory of Sarah must still surely be vivid in the mind of the patriarch, as it is for his son. Yet, the identity of his new wife is unclear. The fact that the Chronicle associates Keturah's sons together with Hagar's sons without mentioning the name of Keturah suggests, however, that Keturah could, as some have suggested, be Hagar. It also is significant that Abraham behaves with Keturah's sons the same way he did with Hagar's sons. He sends them away to avoid any spiritual influence and make a clear distinction between his son with Sarah and the others. He also gives all that he had unto Isaac, Genesis 25:5, while he gave gifts to the sons of the concubines, Genesis 25:6. The classification of concubines may also imply that Keturah's status, like Hagar, was that of a concubine. The potential identification of Keturah as Hagar may also explain the subtle allusion to the memory of Sarah as a prelude to his marriage with Keturah Hagar. What's interesting is that in Genesis 25:1-4 and 12-18, a list of the children that Abraham had with Keturah, as well as a list of Ishmael's children, is given. The purpose of the genealogy after Abraham's marriage with Keturah, who gave him 6 sons versus his 2 other sons, Ishmael and Isaac, is perhaps to provide immediate evidence of God's promise that Abraham would father many nations. The second genealogy concerned with the descendants of Ishmael, who also composed 12 tribes, compared with Genesis 17:20, just as Jacob's would, Genesis 35:22-26. Of course, God's covenant will be reserved to the seed of Isaac, Genesis 17:21, not Ishmael, a point that Scripture is very clear about. The report of Abraham's death, sandwiched between the 2 genealogies, Genesis 25:7-11, also testifies to God's blessing. It reveals the fulfillment of his promise to Abraham, made many years earlier, that he would die at a good old age, Genesis 15:15, and full of years, compared with Ecclesiastes 6:3. In the end, the Lord remained true to his promises of grace to his faithful servant Abraham, whose faith is depicted in Scripture as a great example, if not the best example, in the Old Testament of salvation by faith. Romans 4:1-12. From the book Patriarchs and Prophets, pages 173-174, it says, Abraham had marked the results of the intermarriage of those who feared God and those who feared him not, from the days of Cain to his own time. The consequences of his own marriage with Hagar and of the marriage connections of Ishmael and Lot were before him. The lack of faith on the part of Abraham and Sarah had resulted in the birth of Ishmael, the mingling of the religious seed with the ungodly. The father's influence upon his son was counteracted by that of the mother's idolatrous kindred and by Ishmael's connection with heathen wives. The jealousy of Hagar and of the wives whom she chose for Ishmael surrounded his family with a barrier that Abraham endeavored in vain to overcome. Abraham's early teachings had not been without effect upon Ishmael, but the influence of his wives resulted in establishing idolatry in his family. Separated from his father and embittered by the strife and contention of a home, destitute of the love and fear of God, Ishmael was driven to choose the wild, marauding life of the desert chief, his hand against every man, and every man's hand against him. Genesis 16:12. In his latter days he repented of his evil ways and returned to his father's God. But the stamp of character given to his posterity remained. The powerful nation descended upon him were a turbulent heathen people who were ever an annoyance and affliction to the descendants of Isaac.